Okay, welcome to the Nova Hoopcast. Kevin and Brian with you again today. We're happy to be joined by Courtney Coffer from Woodbridge High School in his fifth year. Coach, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Great, man. Coach, let's get right to it. I've been fortunate enough to be able to get out this year and see you guys practice and play a little bit. And I know it's your fifth year. And one of the things that strikes me is the buy-in from your kids. Everybody seems to be on the same page. So I'm curious how long it took you to kind of get to that point in your program. We talk all the time about establishing a culture. Can you talk to us a little bit about that in your time at Woodbridge?
Absolutely. Well, first, I just want to say thanks to you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really like what you guys do as far as, getting all the information out in our area with high school hoops. So just appreciate being here with you guys. But to answer to your question, it took me a little while. I actually was a very fortunate coach coming into Woodbridge. We had some really good guys that could play my first 2 years. But those guys, I came in with a kind of a different style, different approach. So I kind of had to have a fill out process with those guys and coach those guys up. But as you guys know, it's different from when you actually have guys that really only know you
Right.
as the coach. So those first 2 years, we had some pretty good success, but we didn't really have like the full buy-in from everyone yet. I think a lot of the guys were kind of just filling me out. I'm filling them out. We're learning each other in those 2 years. But during that course, kids like Shane Fedden, Makai Mims, Jaden King, the guys that are seniors now, I was able to go out during that time and see those guys play in middle school. Knowing that they were, zoned for our school. And I kind of started, try to start the building blocks from there. I could kind of see where they would fit in. And then we just developed a relationship. And here we are now in year 5, where those guys only know me as coach, and everybody has really bought in. And those 3 are great because they're great leaders. They hold all the younger guys below them accountable. And then they just kind of get everybody in line. So like our team really polices itself to where I really don't have to do much.
Coach, tell people listening out there a little bit about your background. I know you're from 757, and tell us how you ended up in Woodbridge, and a little bit about where you've coached and also where you played.
Well, I'm from Portsmouth, Virginia. I actually went to Chesapeake High School, Western Branch High School in Chesapeake, Virginia. It's a funny story. My high school coach, Mike Donovan, actually is a graduate of Garfield. He's from this area, and he came down and started coaching at Western Branch. And from Western Branch, I actually went 1 year to Lackawanna Junior College. I did very well there. I got hurt my senior year, so my recruitment was really slower than what it should have been, in my opinion. Of course, I feel that way. But I went to Lackawanna and had a really good year. I was 5th in the country in 3-point percentage. I was 6th in the country in 3-pointers made. And from there, I was able to get picked up by Barton College, who had really good players. I mean, they had a guy like Tim Black, who was a Division II All-American. Dwayne Peen was a first-team All-Conference guy. So getting there, Coach Ron Levency basically told me, like, hey, we would like to see you redshirt, not waste this year with these guys. So I really had a great experience there, really playing 4 full years, 1 with a red shirt and 3 years after that. So then after I graduated, I moved up to Northern Virginia here and really wanted to get into coaching right away. My mindset I played point guard, those last 3 years. So I'm always thinking like a coach anyway. And so I actually got started at Edison High School. I was an assistant there on the JV team back in 2006. And then once the coach left, we actually went to coach with Alfonso Smith, now the principal at John Lewis High School. And I coached JV there with Terry Henderson, who is the current head coach at Thomas Edison right now. And then from there, the girls coach at Mount Vernon left. And so I called Terry up one day. I said, hey, man, what do you think about, us coaching girls and kind of getting that experience? And he's like, I don't know about that. We'll see. We watch those girls play, man. They've really got something special going on right now. And he took me up on it. He was the head coach for 1 year, and then he went back to Edison because the Edison job opened. I stayed and coached the girls program for 6 years. We had a lot of success. We won a lot of games. A lot of kids went to college and just really enjoyed that time. And after that, I just really wanted to get back to the boys game. I just missed it, so much. The intensity level, everything is just different. No disrespect to the women's game, because that's the most pure basketball you'll ever see from a fundamental standpoint. And then from there, I wanted to apply for the Woodbridge job in 2014. And I reached out to the girls coach, Tamika Dudley, because we had a relationship from the girls side. And I just decided not to. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go and coach with Terry, get back acclimated with boys before I just jump out there. And then it was like a godsend. I ended up moving a mile away from Woodbridge at the time. Me and my family moved. And then the job opened up like 2 months after we moved. And I just felt like, I prayed about it a lot. Me and my wife prayed about it, and it felt like it was the best opportunity for me at the time. And fortunately, I was able to get it, and here I am.
Well, Coach.
Well, it's certainly worked. Oh, yeah. It's really worked out well for both you and Woodbridge. Hey, I'm going to try to kind of roll 3 questions into one here, Coach. You mentioned some of your guys. Shane Fedden is a 6'6" senior who can shoot the ball. Makai Mims, I don't know if we mentioned him after we pressed record. He's a really good point guard. You mentioned Jaden King. Michael Cooper's a very talented junior. So you got those guys. I know you're trying to teach them how to kind of keep the pedal down, when they got teams down. But I'm also going to stir it up a little bit. You mentioned that team down in Dumfries. That's pretty good. And I think they're kind of the measuring stick in Prince William, just because they've been good for so long. So maybe talk about where this team is, and is that kind of accurate, that like that's a measuring stick? I assume some people have that game circled on their calendars. I certainly do. I'm hoping to be at that I know they got to the first time. So there you go. There's my long 3-part question.
Oh, no, sure. I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, what Keith Honore has done at Potomac High School is remarkable. And even Coach Hayes before him. I mean, that basketball program has a rich tradition and history. And you're right. They are the measuring stick. I mean, if you want to do anything down in Prince William County, as far as getting out of here and competing for a regional and a state championship, you're going to have to go through them. And that's definitely our measuring stick. The first time we played them this year, we didn't play very well. And I give that credit to Potomac. Like, they play, when we play each other, they come with a different level of intensity, a whole different level of just tenacious defense, because, and I'm sure they would not say this, but they see what we have going on at the same time. So especially when we play each other, they don't want to, like, no group at that school wants to be the group that loses to Woodbridge. And that's pride. That's great. That's what every program wants to have. You want to have that pressure on you because you have a rich tradition and history.
Coach, can you tell us a little about some of those players, Shane, Makai, Michael Cooper? I know people have heard the names, but tell us what it's like to coach those guys.
It's a pleasure, man. I mean, those guys, I'm really going to miss them. Me and my staff, we talk about it all the time, because this is the first group at Woodbridge that we really saw come in as babies, man. It's just young guys, not really, bodies haven't matured yet, but just we watched them learn and develop. And I love those guys because they're hard workers. From day one, they've bought into, we have here at Woodbridge, we work hard. In order for us to have the success that we need, we have to outwork everybody. And those guys come to the gym every single day, that they give it 150%. And now they're demanding it from the guys before them, which is the most important piece, because that's how you keep the program going. And so it's just been an honor to coach those guys. They've gotten a lot better, but they're just better people. They're better young men. And that's the beautiful part about it.
Kevin, do we have time for your final question?
Well, yeah, I'm kind of a foodie, Coach, and we talked about, not being able to visit people like we've done the last couple of years. I always enjoyed going on the road and being in different gyms. I've been in Woodbridge a couple times years ago. Beautiful facility. If people don't know, there's a couple gyms in Prince William that are amazing. They're better than, D3, D2 college gyms, but we would always go down early in the morning film our show, and then we would hit lunch on the way back. So what's a go-to spot in Woodbridge if we were ever come back down to see you that we would need to go eat maybe lunch or dinner that I couldn't get up here in Loudoun County, something that you like it going to?
Well, there's the shopping center, I think the name of it is Stonebridge area. There's a restaurant over there called Firebird, and it is really, really good. The lighting is nice. They have just like a nice, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a nice ambiance in there in terms of how it's set up. And the food is great. They have a dish that really I eat almost every time I go there. It's a salmon, but it's actually like it's a firewood salmon, but with a chili rub, and it's so good. I mean, and
Sounds really healthy, Coach. I mean,
yeah.
Look at me. I'm not the picture of health, man.
No, it's really good. It's comes with like mashed potatoes and broccoli on the side. But that restaurant for sure is definitely the spot to go to if you guys find your way down here for lunch or dinner.
There we go.
Like a good date night, Brian. Me and you.
I know exactly. I don't really think about the ambiance. I just want good food.
Yeah,
definitely.
So cool. Well, good stuff, man. Coach, we really appreciate it. You got a good thing going on. And again, I'm going to put it out there. I've got that game circled on my calendar. I don't think it's this coming week, but I think it's the week afterwards. Definitely. And I know you got work to do before then, but you're headed in the right direction. So thanks so much, man. We appreciate your time.
I appreciate you guys. Again, thanks for having me on. You guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Courtney, and good luck.
All righty. Thank you.
Kevin, when you mentioned the facility, when I went down there, I don't know, have I been there before? Maybe. I don't remember. I haven't been there for a long time if I've been there. And it's probably new since you were last in there. They have these two huge video boards on either end, on both baselines, like a college. Like you were saying, it is unbelievable. When you walk in there, I couldn't get over those video boards. He said, his team, they can sit on the court and just watch their game film up on these video boards. Now he said they have connection issues and everything, like everything else, but they're college level, at least, video boards. It's amazing.
Well, I actually haven't been there a long time, and I think the structure of the gym has stayed the same, but we went down there years ago because we used to run, the All-Star game in Fairfax County when we were coaching, and then it morphed into Prince William versus Fairfax County. Loudoun wasn't involved at the time, and we would host it, and then it would be down in Prince William. So I remember one of the years, Will Robinson hosted it at the great coach from years ago at Woodbridge hosted it, and the place was packed. He was a very good marketer and got a lot of people there, got a lot of sponsorship. So it's a fun place to watch games. And if you haven't been there, Garfield, I believe, is the same, a very similar design. So awesome gyms. And a quick comment on Coach Coffer. What a sharp, intelligent, coach. I just was impressed by him, and I'm going to sound like an old guy here. He's kind of paid his dues. I mean, he's been around, coached at different places. He's not like one of these, sometimes you see college players coming out and getting jobs right away. I mean, hell, Steve Nash finished the NBA, and all of a sudden he's an NBA coach. But Courtney paying his dues on both the boys and the girls side, and if not for the show, I wouldn't know him. So that's
he's pretty sharp. He's pretty sharp, and you know how it is. I mean, obviously we're junkies, and I think we're all guilty these days. All I knew about him was whatever I see on social media, which is so stupid. So when I walked in the gym the first time to watch his practice, it didn't take long for me to realize, he knows what he's doing. And I agree. I didn't even know his background. I didn't know he had coached girls and had been in, those different programs. Alfonso Smith, you and I both know from when he was a head coach.
What a great guy he is. I didn't realize he was a principal, but
so he's been around some good people.
Alfonso never been a class act and doing all the right things. So he comes from good background and the show. If people are listening, good opportunity for meet people outside of your area. And he's a good one. I could see him doing some great things down there. And, it keeps the Potomac thing in perspective. They are the team to beat. And he was
Right.
overconfident. He's just saying we're coming and we're working hard, which is the right way to approach it. So
Right.
awesome time and
Yeah.
talking to him. But
Yeah.
let's move on, Brian, to some games that we want to discuss from last week. I know you saw a couple good games, with the network. We're able to watch
Yeah.
both Prince William and Loudoun County games as much as you want. Fairfax are still doing the Facebook Live or YouTube Live. So
Right.
I don't watch them as much because some of them are kind of difficult to watch.
Yeah.
Some people have gotten it right, but any games out there you want to review that you really thought were notable?
Well, I got a bunch of them written down here, Kevin. So actually, maybe I'll mention some and let you comment on some of, like the first one I wrote down. I'm going to let you comment because you might have even been there, but I wrote down Riverside over Rockridge 55-50 in overtime. Were you at that game?
Yes, I was at the game. Big win for Riverside. I don't think it's surprising. I do think they have the talent. I've talked about that Potomac district before. It could be one of 4 teams in the end who wins it. But I thought Rockridge was playing really well. But I think Riverside had a real good game plan. They came in and did some really good stuff. And, when you think about Rockridge this year, you think about Greg Spurlock. You also think about a lot of experience, a lot of athleticism for Rockridge. But a big win, a great win for the Rams. And it doesn't get any easier for all those teams because they're going to play each other all of it very short amount of time. But, yeah, good win for the Rams.
Let me mention another Loudoun game, and I want to ask you a question about it. So I got Stonebridge over Potomac Falls 56-53. And there's another Stonebridge game we'll talk about here in a minute. But I'm wondering, I don't think Potomac Falls, I don't think it's any secret, they're not as talented as they've been in some previous years. But it seems to me that maybe they're getting better. Obviously, they got a veteran coach. They're getting better as the season goes on. And I'm wondering if they'll be a dangerous team to face down the stretch.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play them.
Yeah.
He's Coach Hall's got a young group. So, as you get game experience, you get better. They're not a team with a ton of experience, but they execute. They have program mentality. They have their system in place. So I agree. They're not winning every game, but it wouldn't be a team that I would want to see because they're going to be organized. They're going to take advantage. They're going to be well prepared. So yeah, Potomac Falls, Stonebridge, they're in the mix along with Rockridge and Riverside. All 4 of those teams, like I said, any one of them can win, and they're just taking turns, taking shots at each other, and they're very close games.
Maybe I'll stick, since we're talking about Loudoun, a couple other Loudoun games I circled. Stonebridge 63-60 over Riverside. Stonebridge got out to that quick start. We had talked about them. They were 6-0 or whatever they were, and they're still good. But it seems like, they're not dominant. They're a good team, but teams are kind of catching up to them.
People catch up. People catch up, and then you start to play them once, and you know who to look for. We talked in one of our first shows, there's not a whole lot of experience coming back across the board in Loudoun. So maybe there's some new kids that you didn't know about. And the second time around, you know who shoots, you know what they do, tendencies, you got tape on them, you're able to watch all that. But they had a close win at Riverside the other day. It was a good game back and forth. I definitely think Stonebridge deserved to win. But Stonebridge, they're not super deep. He doesn't play Coach Kling doesn't play a lot of kids, but that first 5, 6 is really tough, and they spin that ball and they get out on the break, and they're looking good.
Yeah, and the other, the last Loudoun game I had written down was Potomac Falls, who we just talked about, over Rockridge 55-43. So, any other Loudoun observations, Kevin, or you want to?
Yeah, I don't want to stay too long on Loudoun because we've got other teams to talk about, but I think Champ with a big win over Battlefield. Battlefield's always tough. And then Champ ended up beating Patriot, giving Patriot their first loss of the year. I don't know if we were going to talk about that in Prince William or not, but that was a big win for Champ, finally beating Patriot this year. So I'd say Champ again, one of the better teams with the
Yeah.
Jasper brothers. And Jalen Jasper had, going back to the Battlefield game, he had 32
Right.
against Battlefield. So that's a lot of points.
Yeah, and that win over Patriot, I think that was Friday night. Yeah, avenging an earlier loss. So those two teams have split. That's a good battle in that district. Some other games that jump out on my list. So South County, Woodson had beaten South County. That was that game. That was a Saturday night game that maybe flew under the radar for us.
Yeah.
But they had beaten them the first time. So South County beat them this week, 87-52. Now, I think it got out of hand, at the end, as sometimes games do. But clearly, South County, was out for something. They remembered that the first meeting when they played. I got South Lakes over Langley, 64-39. And I meant that. And now, let me mention another South Lakes. I also got them beating Herndon, 64-28. So 28 and 39 points. So a couple things jump out at me there. One, Langley was starting to play pretty well. And I think you said something about them last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Quick time on Langley and also on Woodson.
Yep.
It might have been the kiss of death for me to say, hey, these teams are playing well. And then
right.
South County doing a great job beating up on Woodson. And Langley is one of those other teams. I was like, hey, watch out for them. And they lose as well. So, yeah, maybe that I shouldn't bring that up anymore.
Kevin Ware and Jenks.
Yeah, maybe.
So the other thing I'll say about South Lakes, I mean, clearly they're playing some defense, giving up 39 and 28. And to Herndon, that's a rivalry game too. And so sometimes you think, you throw the records out and all that stuff. But and I know Coach Desmond, you probably tune in. I know he's trying to do coach speak and downplay his team. Sorry, you guys are pretty good. They're pretty good. He keeps telling us, oh, we're not very good. We're not very good. But then you see scores like this each week. So sorry, you're right there, Des. What else? So another South County game. So we mentioned that Woodson, they beat them by 35, and then they beat West Springfield by 2, 40-43. So it's a strange year with, pauses, and then, some teams are playing, 4 games in a week. There's all kinds of factors, I think, that are impacting this. So you never really know what can happen from one night. It definitely keeps it interesting.
What about Yorktown? Yorktown playing well, getting a big
they are.
Big win over W&L, 78-56, which is a really strong win for them. And
yes, and they so that's a rivalry game. They also they put 90 on somebody last night.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. They're playing up and down. Yorktown, I've seen them a few times too. They're an interesting team in that they have like 18 guys on the roster. And, when you run that system, you need that many players, and there's a premium on shooting the ball. So they could go a quarter where they're 0 for 10, from 3, and then then they can have a 5-minute stretch where they hit like 6 in a row. So it's interesting to watch. And I've seen them do both of those things, So couple other games I'll mention. Garfield over, who was it? Oh, Freedom Woodbridge, 60-58. And what jumped out at me in that is Chancellor Perkins is a freshman for Garfield. He had 28, hit 6 threes. So I didn't know his name until I saw that. There's a lot of talent in Prince William this year, Kevin.
A lot of talent, and that's a big time stat line. 6 threes, 8 points
for a freshman too.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. 2 others I mentioned in the National District. 3 others, but 2 in the National District. Falls Church over TJ 32-23. I just had to mention that because of the score.
Well, some people, some people might have a problem with that. People who don't want to see that kind of game.
I don't like that kind of game.
I mean, as a coach, I get it. Sometimes you have to play a certain way to win. I mean, my background, I I had teams that scored in the 80s, and then I had teams that scored in the 30s, and I was only worried about the win, but maybe not the
Right.
thing for fans, of scoring. But hey, whatever it takes at the end of the game, it doesn't have an asterisk.
Right.
It just says winner.
Right.
So.
Another, this is, I guess, an interconference game. West Springfield last night beat Wakefield 73-43. I don't know much about that game, but it's a 30-point difference. I was a little surprised. And I know Wakefield's maybe not quite what they've been in some other years, but I was surprised by that score.
Well, and you can't. Everyone's been on pause. Wakefield's in that whole national district. I think at one point 67 teams were on pause, and,
Right.
and that's tough. That's tough. Hey, let me throw out there very quickly. Woodgrove from Loudon getting their first win of the season, beating Freedom. And I talked to Coach Justin Powers from Freedom because he was at Riverside.
Right.
And he just said Woodgrove, who came off a pause, a 2-week pause, came out hungry and played really, really tough. So congratulations, Coach Jason Toten. First win of the season for the Wolverines.
Right. Good for them. The last one I'll mention, then we can move on unless you have any others. Was Hayfield over. Hayfield over.
You're droning on. Let's go.
I am. Hayfield over Woodson 56-51. That was a good. I think that's a good matchup. Woodson's capable of beating people. We saw them beat South County earlier, and Hayfield's pretty good. So there you go. So those are obviously. I didn't make a short list. I made a long list of games for the week.
Yeah. Let's move to upcoming games. I'll start.
Right.
George C. Marshall coming off a pause, who still has a chance to win that national district. I think one of the most wide open leagues that we cover. So George Mason at Wakefield's coming up. How about Madison at Centerville? I know early on they played each other and that was a win by Centerville, but I wouldn't put Madison. I mean, they beat them twice last year. I wouldn't, put Madison out of that. What Coach Roller can do, I think that'll be a pretty big game.
I agree. That'd be a good one.
And then I think South Lakes, there's some more on this list, but South Lakes Yorktown will be a good one too. I think South Lakes is definitely playing well, and Yorktown is as of late, but that could be a good one to watch as well.
Right. It's a big week for Marshall, Kevin. You mentioned them playing Wakefield. They also play Edison next week.
So you got to make up a lot of games.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, I've talked to a few coaches that are playing it seems like 7 games in 9 days or crazy stuff like that. Let's see, Forest Park, Colgan. I just mentioned that because I don't know this for a fact, but I assume they're rivals. They're both right there on 234, right down the street from each other. So again, rivalry games take on a different feel when there's 8 people in the stands watching. There's supposed to be on the schedule. There's a South County Lake Braddock game this week. Who knows? I think it's kind of common knowledge now. Lake Braddock hasn't played for a while, so I don't know all the circumstances, but I'm assuming they're on a pause as well. So obviously some good games. West Po Hayfield is another Alexandria area rivalry. But I'm with you, Kevin. I think of all those games, I'm kind of most intrigued or excited about that Madison Centerville game because we knew it was going to come down to those 2 teams, and I guess Centerville can pretty much wrap it up if they win, since they won the first time. I don't know exactly how tiebreakers work in that league. I think I do, but obviously, if Madison beats them, then they're tied because I don't think either one has lost to anybody else in the league. That'd be a good game.
A lot of good basketball left to be played, and I know out here in Loudon we're in our last week of regular season games, and then, then we start with district. If you're playing a district tournament, some leagues are not, and then the regionals, so it'll go very quickly. So I think we'll have a lot to talk about. I think next week will be kind of a normal show, and then we'll get into playoffs, which would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Kevin, there's one guy we were talking about getting on the show, but we just want to congratulate Coach Bobby Dobson from Washington Liberty. I almost said Lee, Washington Liberty High School. Head coach got his 300th win. You and I and Bobby all go way back. Me back to my college days. I was there with Bobby Dobson when he was a great point guard at Longwood College. Got to be friends with him there. And then we saw him as coaches when we were called the 6th, and he was the JV coach at O'Connell. And he moved very quickly up the ranks and
from O'Connell, went to Washington Lee High School at the time, and just got his 300th win. And we've got to reconnect with Bobby in the last couple months through a coaches group that we belong to. Coaches looking to make a change and to talk to one another, that we had a real fun time with, and a real learning experience for us over the quarantine. And he got his 300th win, big win for him. Very humble about it. I'm sure he wouldn't want to talk about it, but that's a lot of games, Coach. So congratulations, Coach Bobby Dobson.
Yeah, it takes longevity to do that, and that's hard to achieve in the coaching profession for sure. And I agree with you. He's kind of he's almost embarrassed by when he gets attention, and he's kind of shies away from it. But props to him, man. That's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, and hopefully he's fishing somewhere. He likes.
That's right.
He likes
fishing or hunting.
He is I don't think he'd mind me saying this. He's a country boy.
Yeah.
He's a country boy. He lives out, near some family of mine, and near Nokesville, and he's a country boy, and he likes fishing and being outside. So hopefully he's spending today getting some good downtime on a Sunday outside.
Right.
Ryan, let's move to Doyle's Dimes.
Doyle's Dimes.
What do we got this week?
Well, here's what I have, Kevin. I think people need to, at some point in time, think about the efforts that have been put forth this year by coaches, athletic administrators, training staff, and officials, both the Cardinal officials and those in Prince William. Because I've been able to get out a little bit, and just the protocols that you have to go through to put on an event during this time, it's kind of crazy, and it's very much unprecedented. But just in the last week, it kind of hit me that the efforts that all these people, and you're one of them as an athletic administrator.
Are you me, Brian? Are you thanking me?
I'm thanking you. And just the things that people have to do that were never, ever in their job descriptions. And obviously this is just one tiny, small part of society in the sports world. This has impacted the whole world, but there have been some pretty good efforts by people to put this thing on it. And I'll just mention, like, from an official standpoint, we talked about this on one of our episodes. Like in Cardinal, they're doing 2-man crews. Mm-hmm. And I think probably in a lot of officials association, because a number of officials have opted out. So,
yeah,
when I go around and watch games, I see a lot of the same officials. So some of these guys are probably doing more games maybe than they had planned on, because they're trying to pick up the slack for their colleagues that couldn't or weren't comfortable officiating. And that's the same for, administrators and everything. And from a coaching standpoint, you and I can speak about that. To try to coach a basketball season when you have all these stops and starts and you don't have as much practice time, and then the team you thought you were going to play can't play, and then you pick up another game and you play, like I know Fairfax, where I was last year, they played Robinson Friday night and Saturday afternoon. There's just so many unusual circumstances on top of trying to keep everybody healthy. So I think we all have to, every now and then when you get fired up about a team losing or a bad call or something like that, you just got to remember that the times we're in and the effort that it's taking to put a season together is. Thank you, Kevin.
Brian, that means a lot. I appreciate that. And just to echo your sentiments, it has been a difficult time. And as an administrator, I'm looking forward, looking ahead to the fall season. And it's going to be very difficult with football. I mean, you're talking about twice as many kids being out for football. You got runners who are outside, and, there's a lot of talk about if they're supposed to wear masks. It's a lot of variables that we never had to think about, and people get frustrated very quickly and don't realize that this is nothing we've been trained for. This is nothing we've had experience with. We're all picking it up as we go, and everyone needs to be flexible. And I'm just very happy that we're in the place that we're at right now. I mean, there's other places that are not playing at all. In our own state, we talked about that last week. Groups of school divisions that are not playing, and then in other states as well. So we are very fortunate to be doing what we're doing, and everyone just needs to be nice to each other, Brian. We just need to be kind, right?
Be nice.
Be nice. I don't
That's
know.
what we're all about. That's what we're all
Quick
about.
Shout out to Coach Mike Barbie. There's a movie there with Will Ferrell, a basketball movie. I don't know if you know it, Brian. Semi-pro. Is that no? Not semi-pro. What's the one with Will Ferrell where he's a basketball player? God, the Tropics is the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm talking about.
I don't remember the name of it.
I'm gonna get crap for not knowing it, but I'll look it up on my phone here. But his Will Ferrell was like the player coach, and he would
Right.
always say, "Everyone love everybody." Okay, so that's what I need to tell you guys. Everyone love everybody. Semi-pro, I was right. That's the name of it.
All right.
Yeah, everyone love
All right.
everyone. So that's for you, Mike Barbie.
What's Mike Barbie's connection to that again?
I think on his Instagram or Twitter, his profile picture is
Oh, okay.
and when we coached together in AAU, that was his profile picture, of
Okay. Oh, I think I remember that.
Yeah, the character Jackie Mooney is the lead character. We're going off on a weird tangent. No,
Right.
just shout out to Jackie.
We are. We do that sometimes.
That's right. All right. Anything else, Brian?
Good. That's all I got, man. I mean, I'm in the gym. I gotta leave. We gotta hit some.
You got to go to the
What's
gym.
that?
You're in the gym.
I had a little workout in the gym right behind me. I had a little workout in here.
I'm tired. I watched the McGregor fight last night. McGregor got knocked out. I'm too old to be staying up till 1 o'clock.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
You are.
All right.
All right. Hey,
Thanks for listening.
good stuff. We'll be back at it again.
Thanks, Mom, for clicking 200 times. Say that you viewed it. Thank you, Mom. You guys have a good weekend. We will
See you next week.
next time on the Nova Hoopcast.